What is up, everyone? My name is Ive Learned, and today we're going to be talking about some tips that have helped me create a brand around my art. So let's hop into it. Before I start this video, I first want to say that followers does not equate to talent. So that's not always true. There are so many amazing, talented artists out there that are just absolutely phenomenal and don't have that many followers. So this is all just really about the game of the algorithm. So today I'm going to be covering some things that have helped me expand my brand, get more eyes on my work, which led to more opportunities. So at the beginning of this year, I had 36,000 followers on Instagram, about 50,000 followers on TikTok. And at the time, I really wasn't concerned about becoming like a content creator or like influencer. I just kind of wanted to put my art out there and make tutorials. But at the beginning of this year, I set a New Year's resolution and I kind of wanted to shift my brand and do more content creating and possibly become an influencer, because I know that there's just so many opportunities in that. So I started studying what works and trying to understand the algorithm. And now I'm at 121,000 followers on Instagram and 140,000 followers on TikTok. So here are the things that I have learned. So number one, figuring out what I want my social media presence to be. The idea with this is that once I identify what it is I want to be perceived as, I can create content that is specifically focuses on that goal. For example, if I say, I want to be a resource for knowledge on After Effects, or I want to give a different perspective on what it's like to be an illustrator for the news, anything like that. Whatever it is, identify it. So once I've labeled myself, I now can find content that is specific to the presence that I want to achieve. I want to be a resource for knowledge on After Effects. So what does that content look like? What does content that is educational focused look like? What does content that is After Effects focused look like? Figuring that out will give you a game plan of what type of content you could create moving forward. I would say the biggest thing is learning from the successes of others. So look at content that is already out there that is successful. I think the biggest thing that I hear from artists that are trying to expand their brand is that they have no clue how to create content that is algorithm focused. Here's the thing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Learn from others. One thing that I really love to do is just have a day of research where I find a whole bunch of content that just speaks to me. Then I break down what's so great about that video. And I don't mean that you have to go in and find videos of people dancing on TikTok. You don't have to, unless you want to do that. But trying to break down what you like will give you a better idea of what you plan to create. So looking at content like, oh, this has a graphic up front, or oh, this is like 15 seconds long and it has a cut every 3 seconds. Just trying to analyze that so that you can create that feeling for your audience, the same thing that you felt. So number two is probably the most cutthroat thing that is about this whole branding stuff that I wish really didn't matter, but it totally does. So I want to teach you about it so that you can kind of learn how it works. So on Instagram and TikTok, as of now, it is visible to see the number of followers that you have. So how many people you're following and how many people are following you. So you need to remember that this is the first thing that people see when they look at your page. And unfortunately, they're gonna judge your page moving forward based on these numbers. So here's what those numbers say to those brands. So if you have 1,000 people who are following you, but you're following 3 times as many people, so you're following 3,000 people, what this says about your account is that you seek people out more than they seek you out. Because if that was the case, every single one of the people that you talk to would follow you back. And that may not be true, but that's what is kind of seen with those numbers. And so it's kind of important to make sure that your ratio is more even. You want to stake under 1,500 people that you're following, but always remember the less is better. So if your ratio is like 5,000 people who are following you and you're following 700 people, that's not too bad. Like that's a pretty good ratio. But I would super suggest kind of going through your following list and start unfollowing people who don't contribute to your brand and your art. Because if you want to start moving your social media to more of a branding and opportunity realm, then you have to expect that you have to separate business and personal stuff. So like I said, I know this one is kind of like cutthroat, but I mean, if you met somebody in the bathroom 3 years ago and haven't engaged with them and they're not active and they don't even engage with your content, then you're not really losing much to begin with. Obviously, do not unfollow people who are constantly supporting you and engage with your content, because I don't think that it should be that cutthroat that you can't build connections with people online. You just want to make sure that you're separating your business from your personal, especially if you are trying to use this as an outlet to get more opportunities. Also, another thing is if you have 10,000 followers and you have 500 people that you're following, it's a pretty good ratio. But if I go to your post and you only have 20 likes, I'm gonna assume that you bought those followers, which is even worse than having a bad ratio. So if you get tons of bots that are following you, just block them. You don't wanna make it seem like you have a whole bunch of followers if your engagement doesn't reflect that. And number 3, create visually pleasing work that is going to make your overall content look good on your page. So I mean like on your grid, like your grid should look like an art piece within itself. So if you got content that looks like a business flyer, like you're trying to sell me something, just take it off. When there is a lot of text on the grid, or your profile looks busy, remember you only have a few seconds to impress someone to follow your page. This means making sure that the covers on your reels look nice and clean as well. You should be able to look at your grid from far away and be like, oh, this looks still pretty cool. Also, going through and seeing what posts don't have as high of engagement, just take it off. If it's not really contributing to make it seem like you have the best engagement in the world, there's no need to have it. The best inspiration that I would say that you can find is by looking at some of your favorite content creators, like the ones that are creating the art that you create but are just killing it on social media. I think we should always be learning and becoming better, and a great way to learn is from the successes of others. So go do some research, find some content that you like to create and build from there. So before we hop into this last tip, I first want to say that I make these videos to help artists like yourself and also up and coming artists as well. So every video moving forward, you will find a donation link below to help get computers and digital art programs to kids in underserved communities. So make sure to check that out. So last thing is recognizing what is big. So right now, as of 2023, on Instagram is Reels. Take advantage of the fact that Instagram is creating a shift towards their competitor, TikTok, by using Reels, which means that they are pushing for more short form vertical content. So if you have a video, consider making it into a reel format. Knowing this algorithm change can put you into position of getting more engagement, getting more on the Explore and Discover page. I would say that if you're creating content already that is 1920 by 1080, I would suggest trying to curate some content that is 1080 by 1920 format. I think that if you're gonna be working within the Reels space, you wanna create content that follows kind of the Reels format. So that's gonna be it for us. I hope that these tips were helpful. These are things that I've learned over the past few months, and I hope that they help you along your journey. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a super awesome day.